The wind howled through the narrow streets of a small, quiet town, the kind that still had cobblestone alleys and street lamps that flickered like old memories. Winter had come early, and the town was blanketed in a thin sheet of snow. Most people were in their homes, warm, fed, and safe. But not everyone. Uncle Joe was locking up his tiny hardware store, same way he had done for nearly 50 years. The store was old, cluttered, and smelled faintly of paint, wood shavings, and oil-like history had folded itself into the walls. Joe had run it alone ever since his wife passed. No kids, no family, just his little shop and the quiet rhythm of everyday life. He turned the key with stiff fingers and adjusted his worn-out coat when a voice broke the silence. Uncle, can I sleep on your shop floor tonight? Startled, Joe turned and found a boyno older than 11 standing under the flickering light of the lamppost. Thin, trembling, cheeks red from the cold. His clothes were dirty, too light for winter, and his shoes had holes in them. He hugged a torn backpack to his chest like it held the last of his world. What did you say? Joe asked, not unkindly, just trying to make sense of the question. The boy stepped forward, eyes wide and hollow. I just need somewhere warm. For the night, I won't steal anything, I promise. Joe studied him. Where's your home, son? Guy. Don't have one. Not since Mom got sick and the hospital took her. Then we lost our place. I've been sleeping in the train station, but they kicked me out tonight. Joe rubbed his jaw. He'd seen life rough, but there was something about this boy's voice gentle, scared, yet polite that twisted something deep in his chest. You eaten anything today? The boy shook his head slowly. Joe sighed. Well, come inside. He unlocked the door again, flicked the lights back on, and let the warmth from a small space heater begin to do its job. He made a quick cup of soup, handed the boy some crackers, and watched him devour them with quiet gratitude. What's your name? Joe asked finally. Aaron. Well, Aaron, I'm Joe, and you can stay for tonight, but we'll talk in the morning, all right? Aaron nodded. His eyes were already closing before Joe had even finished speaking. Joe pulled out a blanket from the storage cupboard, gave him an old pillow, and let him curl up near the heater. He watched the boy for a long moment, alone, abandoned, a child, lost in a world that didn't make space for people who didn't fit its mold. The next morning, Joe found Aaron still asleep, curled tightly like he was afraid to take up too much space. He let him rest. When Aaron finally stirred, Joe handed him a toothbrush and let him use the small sink in the back to clean up. I can work, Aaron said quietly, as if begging to prove his worth. I'm good at cleaning. I'll help in the shop. Joe chuckled. Well, I won't say no to free labor. That day turned into two into a week. Aaron swept the floors, organized tools, learned the difference between a bolt and a screw. Customers began to notice. They smiled when he greeted them. Some left a few dollars in the tip jar Joe had placed at the counter with a sign that read, for Aaron's education fund. But not everyone was supportive. You're keeping a street kid, one neighbor scoffed. Joe didn't answer. He didn't feel the need to explain kindness. Aaron was sharp, curious, polite. Every night, after closing, he and Joe would eat soup together, talk about books, or sit in silence, comfortable, peaceful silence. Joe hadn't realized how lonely he'd been until Aaron filled the space with innocent questions and shy smiles. He learned more over time. Aaron's mother had suffered a seizure and was hospitalized, but no one had followed up on her child. The system had too many cases, and Aaron had slipped through the cracks. No school, no foster placement, just survival. Joe contacted shelters, churches, social workers, but the wait lists were long, the responses slow. So he did what no one else did. He stepped in. 2 weeks later, a woman walked into the shop, middle-aged, well-dressed, with a kind face. Is this the place with the boy who helped Mr. Henderson when he dropped his walker? She asked. Yes, Joe nodded cautiously. I run the local newspaper. I'd like to feature your story. People need to see this kind of kindness. Joe hesitated, but Aaron's smile pushed him over. The article came out that Sunday. Old hardware store gives young runaway shelter, purpose, and hope. It exploded. People began to visit just to meet Aaron. Donations poured in. A GoFundMe page started by a college student hit $10,000 within days. Teachers offered tutoring. A dentist gave Aaron a free checkup. Even a local cafe offered him weekend work when he was ready. Joe was overwhelmed, but Aaron kept working, sweeping the floors, arranging tools, smiling like he finally belonged somewhere. 3 weeks after the article, a car pulled up a worn-down sedan. A nurse stepped out, helping a woman from the passenger seat, a woman with sunken cheeks, tired eyes, and trembling hands. Aaron was in the shop when he heard the voice. Aaron, baby. He froze. Slowly, he turned. The moment their eyes met, Time stopped. Asterisk mom. Asterisk she cried first. Then he did. Then they ran to each other. Asterisk Joe turned away, silently wiping his eyes behind the counter. Asterisk the hospital had seen the article. They contacted the woman's sister who brought her to the store. She was recovering, but weak. Now, thanks to community support, they had temporary housing and enough funds to stay together. Asterisk but what she didn't expect was what Joe had done for her son. Asterisk you saved my boy, she whispered. You gave him dignity, purpose, a warm place to sleep. Asterisk Joe smiled. Gently, he gave me more than I gave him. Asterisk months passed. Aaron moved in with his mother. He returned to school and excelled. But every weekend, without fail, he returned to the hardware shop sweeping, organizing, helping customers. Asterisk one day, Joe called him over. Asterisk, I've made something for you. Asterisk he held up a wooden sign, hand-carved and painted. Asterisk Joe and Aaron's hardware. Tools for the hands and the heart. Asterisk Aaron beamed. Asterisk kindness doesn't need a reason. It just needs someone brave enough to act when the world looks the other way. Joe didn't have wealth, power, or fame. He had a heart that said yes to a scared child, a cold night, and a chance to make a difference. Asterisk and that was more than enough. Asterisk be the person who opens the door. Asterisk who says, yes, you can sleep here. Asterisk you might not just save a life, you might discover the family you never knew you needed.